Hey, I'm Kyle with DIY Garage Door Parts, and I'm here to show you what a broke torsion spring looks like. If you happen to walk into your garage and you hit the button and it won't open, be sure to, first thing to do is check up here and see the gap up here. That is a sure sign that you've got a broke spring. In order to make this repair, we need a few tools that are necessary not to get hurt or anything like that and just make everything go smooth. First off, we need our winding bars. This is what will wind the spring up to put the proper tension on it whenever we're finished. But first, we will have to take the tension off the second spring. Vice grips, they're really good for keeping the torsion bar from falling out midway through the project. On your wrenches, 9/16, ½ inch sometimes you'll need, and 7/16. And if you do have a square head or 8-point socket, you can use that, and it is a 3/8. For safety reasons, we got to remember that the second spring on the garage door has tension still on it. So you want to be sure to get the tension off and do it safely. So you want to have safety glasses, and you want to be sure to have your winding bars in the spring, the cone of the spring, before you loosen any set screws. Okay, so the first step that we're going to do to release this tension, and before we can take the other spring off, we need to take your winding bar and place it in one of the holes in the cone of the spring. You're going to take, if you've got the 8-point or 4-point socket that's a 3/8 size, use it, or you can use the 7/16 wrench, and that will work too. And then you got to realize that there's going to be pressure as soon as you release these keys on the spring. So what you're going to do now is take your other winding bar, and you're going to release the pressure 1/4 turn at a time until there's no more tension. Okay, next, after we've got the spring tension off, we're going to release the bolts here in the center that holds the stationary cone on the spring. So you're going to take, it's usually your 9/16 wrench, sometimes it'll be a ½ inch wrench. After you separate them, I always like to take your vice grips and clamp it on here so it'll keep the torsion shaft from falling out when you take the springs off. It'll just save you a lot of headache by doing this now. Okay, so we're going to loosen the keys up on your broke spring. You're going to slide it down, and then you're going to go to the ends, and you're going to loosen the keys up on your drums. And go ahead and take your cable out, and you can kind of wrap it around the track so it doesn't fall. Slide the drum down, and go to your other side and loosen the keys on the other drum. Go ahead and slide the torsion shaft over. Take your drum off and slide the first spring off. Now that we have the torsion bar slid out, go ahead and get your new spring, and you want to make sure it has the black paint on it. That is a left-hand line spring, and we're going to go ahead and put it on. and slide it back into your end bearing. Then we're going to go to the other side and take the other old spring off. Also, if you've got a plastic center bearing here, these are only rated for 10,000 cycles. So the only way to change those is to take the springs off. So it's not a bad idea to go ahead and change that. I like to use a commercial steel center bearing, and because it's rated at a lot higher cycle rating. It also, what it does is it keeps this torsion shaft from rubbing your center bracket and cutting it in two. And you want to make sure you put the spring back on the exact way you took it off. On this side, it's going to have red paint. So this is going to be a right-hand wind spring. Go ahead and put the torsion bar back in your center bearing or your end bearing plates. And then you're going to come back here to the center and put your bolts back. Another good way to tell that you have the left-hand wind and right-hand wind springs correct is you can see that the wire is coming up over the top of the spring and pointing at you on both springs. That's how you know if it's coming from the underside, you know it's the wrong way. I've seen them mislabel the springs to the red and the black, so it's good to check that before you start putting tension on them and you get it wrong. All right, now that we got the springs bolted up to your center bracket, on a 7-foot door, you're going to put somewhere around like 30 turns, give or take a quarter turn. On an 8-foot tall door, you're going to put like 32 to 34, usually around 34 though. And every time you push the winding bar up, that's considered what I'm calling a turn. So it's a quarter turn. You can also count, if you lose count or anything, you can count your stencils here too. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half turn there. So that's times 4. So that would be like 18 turns right there. Okay, once you get your last turn, leave your bar propped in there, and you're going to tighten down the set keys. And you don't have to torque them down. Once the key hits the torsion bar, you're only going to tighten it maybe like 3/4 of a turn. And then you're going to go down to one of the ends with the drums. the cable, put it in the slot in the drum, and go ahead and wind your cable back up. And you'll tighten your set piece down. And again, you don't need a whole lot of tension on this. You need maybe like 3/4 of a turn once it hits the torsion shaft. And do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so you set it in your cable in the slot. Didn't want to go in. Okay, and then just wind it in the correct groove there. And lift up with your other bar, take your winding bar that was propping the spring up, and now you're going to go over to the other spring that's not wound up. We now have tension on both cables, so it should be lifting approximately half the door weight. And put the same number of turns that you did on the other spring. After you've got your winding bar taken out, pull the cord on your opener and you need to test the balance of the door. It should be real easy to lift. And I've got it set a little hot. It'll still balance right here. When I say hot, kind of has a tendency to go up a little on its own. That's good because the springs will break in, and after a month or so it'll be perfect. Hope you found this video informative and helps you with any problems you might have on changing your torsion springs out. If you've ordered from us, feel free to drop us an email if you have trouble, or feel free to give us a call. We'll be glad to help you out.